Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric. I'm the Fraudiophile. This is the channel where we talk about records, stereo gear, and everything else in between. Today I want to talk a little bit about the 10 records that everybody should have in their collection. Obviously, this is a very subjective list and it's going to change from person to person, but I want to talk about what I feel are 10 records that everybody should have in their collection. Now, these are a variety of genres. For the most part, we're going to talk about classic rock, a little bit of jazz sprinkled in here, and some other music as well. But what I'd really like to know is what you think the 10 essential records are to have in every record collection. So please put in the comments, tell me I'm an idiot, what records I missed, and what your top 10 are that everybody should have in their collection. So first, let's talk about, these are all going to be very obvious. Dark Side of the Moon. All right, so from Pink Floyd, 1973, this was the biggest selling, probably vinyl album of all time. Stayed on the charts for, it seemed like for a million years, and is a record that pretty much everybody has in their collection. Now, I got into Pink Floyd actually with a division bell and worked my way backwards. Started listening to Floyd in the late 90s, but have now found that Dark Side of the Moon is probably my favorite album of all time. If I had to sit and listen to one album from beginning to end, it's probably going to be this one. And because of that, I believe this belongs in everybody's collection. Number two, another obvious one that's kind of made a little bit of a comeback lately, is Rumors from Fleetwood Mac. I've actually heard of multiple record store owners who have YouTube channels say that there are two records that they always constantly sell no matter what when they come in. And that's Dark Side of the Moon and it's Rumors. So really this is where Fleetwood Mac made their name. Obviously there's the self-titled album with Buckingham and Nicks on it. This is really the one that took them to the next level. Even my 14-year-old daughter loves listening to Rumors. She loves Fleetwood Mac. It's a big thing with all of these kids, apparently. Great album. Got to be in everybody's collection. Let's step away from classic rock for just a second. I know I've shown this one multiple times before in my videos, but It's Kind of Blue by Miles Davis. Especially for people who have never listened to jazz before, this is a perfect gateway album. Getting into jazz. Everybody talks about Miles Davis. Personally, I think the huge hero on this actually is John Coltrane. His solos, specifically on So What, is probably one of the coolest solos I've ever heard. Cannonball Adderley. You've got Wynton Kelly on here. You have Bill Evans playing piano, and then obviously Miles Davis too. But this is just perfect gateway to jazz and a record that I think should be in everybody's collection. Let's get back into the classic rock side of things. I know I've talked about this band a lot. Somebody I never listened to when I was younger, but now I listen to them all the time. Probably one of my 3 or 4 most listened to artists, or bands, I should say, and that's Asia by Steely Dan. Number one, this should be in your collection just because it sounds fantastic. And if you're ever swapping out gear, this is a great album to use as a baseline to test out your gear, to see if any of the changes that you're making in your system make a difference. I know I use Black Cow and I use the song Asia as really my two of my main test tracks when I'm flipping stuff around inside of my systems. But great sounding record. Again, I think everybody knows Steely Dan's Asia, kind of a jazz rock fusion, definitely more rock than jazz, but even some of the saxophone playing on here from Wayne Shorter is just phenomenal. All of their use of different fabulous studio musicians, folks like Steve Gadd, Jim Keltner, Chuck Rainey's bass. Everything Chuck Rainey does is so good on this album. And yeah, sure that's in almost everybody's collection. Now let's get into a couple of the biggest bands there are out there. Now, some of them you have to decide, like, which album am I going to have from them? Well, it's pretty obvious for this one. It's Nirvana's Nevermind. For those of you who are around my age, I'll be turning 50 here in a couple of weeks. I was in high school when this came out and really changed the way I listened to music. I listened for quite some time to, kind of the pop stuff that was on the radio. I was really into Van Halen. But then once I heard Nevermind, that completely changed my listening habits and how much I was into music. Really turned me into a music lover. Another band that has a ton of albums, one that everybody's got to have in there is, which one do you pick? Led Zeppelin, right? Is it going to be 1, 2, 3, 4? Physical Graffiti. Yeah, it's gonna be Led Zeppelin 4. Got to have Stairway to Heaven, Black Dog, Going to California. I mean, this is just an absolute perfect classic rock album. John Bonham's drumming on here is great. Page's guitar playing, just a great band, classic album. You know, you talk about greatest hits. If you listen to this album from beginning to end, really, it's almost like listening to a Led Zeppelin's greatest hits. This is an artist that everybody's been talking about right now. I feel like I'm the only one who hasn't bought the new 1982 version of Nebraska, and that's Bruce Springsteen. But if I'm going to listen to Springsteen, it's got to be Born to Run, right? Uh, Born to Run, Jungle Land. I mean, this is Thunder Road. It's such a great album, and really when Bruce took the leap. I've never been a gigantic Springsteen fan. I know my parents had Born in the USA when I was 10 years old. Remember listening to that album. But thanks to a lot of the YouTube channels, I've really started listening to Springsteen more and more. My wife and I did a trip to northern Minnesota earlier this year, and we listened to the entire Springsteen catalog from beginning to end. And that's thanks to guys like Chris at The Long Cut and Todd at Lost Mixtapes. I love listening to them talk about Springsteen. They're so much more knowledgeable about the boss than I ever will be. But love Born to Run. Great record. Down to 3. Let's go with some 80s rock. Got to be Appetite for Destruction, right? I know when I was a kid, when I first got this tape, I pretty much wore this tape out. I had to keep it hidden. My parents were actually really cool when it came to music, but with all the swearing and things like that in this one, I did have to keep this one under wraps a little bit. But obviously, Sweet Child of Mine, Welcome to the Jungle, Paradise City, and even just the album tracks on here. Songs like Mr. Brownstone, My Michelle, they're all awesome. And every once in a while, you got to crank it up and get the stereo blasting, and this is a perfect record to do it. All right, 2 to go. Let's stay in the 80s. What is arguably probably the biggest band of the 80s, and I think this is their best album, which could be argued. A lot of people will say Achtung Baby, but I'm going to go with the Joshua Tree. This is my wife's favorite record. She's an absolute crazy U2 fan, loves U2. Could never listen to it enough. We were lucky enough to see them on the Joshua Tree tour where they played this from beginning to end. That was probably 6 or 7 years ago up at US Bank Stadium. And I would put the first side of the Joshua Tree up against any other album for the best single side on an album. That being said, last but not least, I think this actually has the perfect side 2, whereas Joshua Tree has the perfect side 1. Cannot go with a list of essential albums that must be in your collection without having a Beatles record, right? So is it Sgt. Pepper, White Album? Some would say Rubber Soul, some say Revolver. I definitely go back to Abbey Road. Probably because this was the album that really got me into the Beatles. Somehow stumbled into a CD copy of this when I was in high school. And after hearing Kurt Cobain talk about how much he loved the Beatles, I was like, maybe I should be listening to more of that. My parents love the Beatles. They listen to the Beatles all the time when we were kids. And this is definitely my favorite of all of theirs. But this side 2, Here Comes the Sun, Because, You Never Give Me Your Money, Sun King, Mean Mr. Mustard, Polyethylene Pam, She Came In Through the Bathroom Window, Golden Slumbers, Carry That Weight in the End. I mean, it's just nothing works better, in my opinion, than side 2 of this album. Absolutely perfect. Well, that's it. That's my list of 10 albums that should be in everybody's collection. If you've made it this far, I would really appreciate if you would like and subscribe to this video. Starting to move up in my amount of subscribers I have. And yeah, the more subscribers, the more it pops me into the algorithm, so on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. I hate having to do that with YouTube, but really enjoyed doing this new hobby. It's been fun. Actually, feel like I've met a lot of people over the internet with a lot of similar musical interests that I have as well. So give us a like, give us a subscribe. Go ahead in the comments. Tell me what you think your 10 records are that everybody should have, and we will catch you next time.